Okay, so here we go with day 4 of the 7-day Launch Your Automated Webinar Challenge, where today we're going to look at how you can record your webinar so that it retains maximum attention from your prospects. Okay, so now in order for you to record your webinar, I typically would suggest that it's going to take you around about 3 times as long to record it as the length of your webinar. So in order to record a 1 hour long webinar, you'll want to allow yourself at least 3 hours to record it. And that's because along the way, you'll probably find there's lots of little tweaks that you need to start making. And once you start recording, it's very common to find that you're going to want to adjust perhaps the way the slides look. Maybe you realize that things would flow if you edited them slightly or moved things around. This is very common to find. Sometimes you'll want to add complete whole pieces of content in. Sometimes you'll realize when you've recorded the webinar that it only lasts 20 minutes or 25 minutes and actually you thought it was going to last 45 minutes. In this case, I would then go and edit it, add more content in and then start again. And the same, of course, if it's too long. If you realise that it's going over an hour, I would then edit the number of slides you've got and the content that you're delivering to keep it under that hour. Now, live webinars, people have got no problem with live webinars. If there's a Q&A at the end, people will attend live webinars that go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. With a recorded webinar, though, I do strongly suggest you keep it under that hour. And then, of course, at the beginning, you're going to always tell people we're going to be under an hour here. And that means that you'll keep maximum attention. You get more people staying on your webinar to the end. Okay, so the tools you're going to need. What are you going to need to actually create the webinar? Now, I personally prefer Camtasia, which is available for both PC and Mac in order to record it. And there are other tools available. This has always been my preference. I've used it for many years. It's relatively inexpensive. There are regular updates released to keep the software up to date, and I absolutely love it. So my personal suggestion is Camtasia. If you want to use something else, then that's absolutely fine. No issue if you're used to using something else. Now, in order to actually record it, what I do is I record it as one big long block. I have edited it along the way, and it used to drive me absolutely bonkers. So what I now do, and this is what I teach my clients to do, is I record it as one long block. If I go wrong, then quite simply, I just keep the record button pressed. I keep recording. I then go back and redo that entire slide again from the beginning. And this means that I keep my flow. And it's how I can typically record a 45-minute webinar in maybe an hour, 20 minutes, allowing for mistakes. Now, I either edit the mistakes out myself if there's only a couple of them, or normally what I do is I give this to somebody else to do, somebody who specialises in video editing. Very easy job for somebody that knows how to do this. And I use a website called People Per Hour and go and hire somebody, typically pay around about £25 an hour to hire somebody to do that for me, and typically takes them around about 3 hours or so to edit the webinar, and they then upload the finished version for me into a Dropbox folder, and it just means that I can get moving on with the next tasks rather than getting bogged down with the technical sides of things. Now, you will of course need a decent USB headset. If you've got a Mac, then you may find that the sound with your Mac's absolutely fine, but it will pick up some of the background noise. So if you are in a relatively noisy place, or you've got air conditioning going in the background like I have at the moment, then you'll probably find that you want a headset instead that's going to do some noise cancelling for you. So I've got a number of different headsets. They're all around about £20 on Amazon. I tend to keep one in each location, whether I'm at the office or home or travelling, etc., just because they're so relatively inexpensive. So just look out for one that's got a good number of reviews on Amazon and then go with that. Okay, so this is something that I am asked a lot is, do I need to create a full script for my webinar? Do I need to script everything out and make tons of notes? Now, I'm not a fan of having entire scripts because it just sounds too obviously like you're reading from a script. So I would say that you may want to consider scripting certain sections only. So maybe at the very beginning, and then at the end, when you're moving into the close, where you want to remind yourself the reasons why people should be booking in for a call with you, that is when you may want to consider scripting it, okay? But not too much scripting because people can tell, they'll lose attention. So you will maintain better attention from your prospects if you do not use a script. Now, in terms of your tone or energy, this is so important. Now, I would suggest that you record your webinar at a time of day when you are naturally high energy. Now, for me, that's the morning, and that allows me to maintain high energy in my voice. There were times when I was doing live webinars in the evening at 8 p.m. I would make sure that I had a nap in the afternoon that would then also give me high energy. So napping also works well as if you need that energy boost. You'll want to use the natural inflection in your voice moving up and down. Please do watch out for using a very boring monotone and talking in one tone. You know, you're going to lose attention from people. They will rapidly jump off of your webinar if you do not sound like you're excited by what you're talking about. So please get used to talking with these natural ups and downs and highs and energy in your voice. What I do, I am currently standing up right now, and that is what I do, and it gives me higher energy. I have done whole webinars sat down, but I used to find that, it just didn't allow me to give over this same amount of energy that I feel when standing. So now I stand a lot of the time when delivering my content. And of course, smile, because you can hear it in the recording. When people are smiling, we can definitely hear it. It carries across. Now, if you are naturally a low energy person, what you may want to consider doing is getting yourself in the right state before recording the webinar. So this might be sticking some music on, dancing around the room, getting yourself high energy, whatever is necessary. No need to feel silly if you do it yourself. You lock your door, dance around, get yourself high energy. And this is how you're going to then give over the best energy in your training. Now, please do watch out for these dull sounding monotone voices. Please get honest feedback from a colleague, somebody who's going to give you this honest feedback rather than somebody who loves you, doesn't want to hurt your feelings. Really important. And do whatever is necessary to get your voice going up and down and sounding high energy. Again, something to watch out for is text that is difficult to read over the graphics. This is something I see people do a lot. They're playing around with their PowerPoint presentations themselves, feeling super clever that they're able to edit it and make all these funky fonts. And then before you know it, you've got a spidery font that's actually really difficult to read. So please get a sense check from somebody who will give you an honest opinion. And as I've mentioned, do watch out for sounding like you're reading from a script. Now, something to watch out for with Camtasia is that sometimes it picks your internal computer speaker even though you're using a USB headset. So make sure that when you're using the settings, if it sounds like you're underwater and blob, 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 sounding like this, then that's what's happened. You'll want to play around with the settings and do some tests with the sound first before you start recording the entire webinar. I have had this happen to clients. The entire webinar sounded like they were underwater. They then have asked me, what can I do about this? Can it be edited out? No, it cannot. If this happens, you need to do the entire thing again, unfortunately. So do this quick test first. Now, once completed, you'll want to listen back to it and then either edit it yourself so that you've edited out the ums, ahs, the mistakes, etc., or you're going to pay somebody to do that. And then you're going to produce it and turn it into a usable format. So this needs to be in an MP4 format, is the format that we're going to be using for creating the automated webinar. So you'll want to do that. Now that does take a good amount of time, depending on the video speed of the video card of your computer in order to do that. Now, at this point, I would consider giving it to somebody else to listen to it for a sense check. So please get somebody else to listen to it, and don't be attached to needing to do the entire thing again, especially when it's your first one. It's absolutely okay. I've had people think, oh, it's okay, it's good enough, and stick out a subpar recording that's got all kinds of editing mistakes in, etc. Please, it's okay to have natural sounding mistakes in there where you repeat yourself a couple of times. In fact, this actually shows that you're human. However, if you've got whole bits where it sounds really obviously edited, something, a really big cut, for example, and you jump from one sentence to another, this is the type of thing to watch out for. If you've got any big mistakes in there, then please do not be attached to needing to re-record the whole thing again, especially if it's an hour and 15 minutes long and you're thinking, oh, it's okay, I'll just edit out 20 minutes of it to get it under the hour. Really, you're going to need to edit the whole presentation and take it properly down to under an hour, as in remove some of the content, rather than just thinking you can just go and cut whole slices out, because it will lose its flow. It won't sound as natural. Okay, so now over to you. Now it's time to test recording some or all of your webinar, depending on how you're keeping up with the challenge each day. And of course, if you're ready at this stage, then go ahead and record it all. Okay, so I'll look forward to talking with you on tomorrow's training. Bye for now.